Hello everyone and welcome to this Your Overseas Home webinar. I'm Abbie, I'm a digital channel manager here at Your Overseas Home. I'm so pleased that you've joined us for how to find the best location for your overseas property. This session is designed to help you understand how to think about the locations you're considering and maybe even give you some inspiration for some areas you might not have thought of before.
Hi everyone, my name is Julian. I'm one of the copywriters here at Your Overseas Home. If you've got any questions about what we're talking about today, if anything comes up as we're going through the slides, please do just put them into the question slots at the right side of the screen and I'll make sure to ask them at the end of the presentation. But Abbie, over to you.
Perfect. This is actually our second session in our series on how to buy property overseas. If you missed last month's, we discussed the big picture. You can actually watch this on demand if you'd like to catch up or rewatch if you were here for the last one. We'll be covering all of the key stages of buying property overseas in this series, but things like narrowing down where to buy, legal considerations, and then getting the keys in your hand. But today we're talking all about location. So let's start on the kind of simple truths. The best house in the wrong place will still leave you very disappointed. You need to think first and foremost about how the location supports your lifestyle. Think about some key factors. So that's things like the proximity to healthcare, your daily amenities, airports, the feel of the local community. Do you want things like the buzz of a city, or are you looking for a peaceful lifestyle in a village?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things which is just worth keeping in mind is what's going to fit your particular lifestyle. And while there are places in Crete which are affordable and charming, such as Chania or Heraclea, those may not actually be the sorts of things which you'd want as part of your day-to-day life. It's all about how connected they are or whether or not you can reach the amenities that you need. Chania, for instance, is a charming, laid-back village, but if you wanted to have more of that connectivity, you might want to consider Heraclean, which has better internet connections, and it's all set up for year-round connectivity.
Yeah, definitely. I think year-round is the most important consideration that you can really make. Would you be able to live there all year? Even if you're not permanently relocating, most people who have a holiday home will visit at varying periods of time. You may want to go in the October half term if you have children. What's it like in October is a very important thing to consider. Some places in Europe do turn into a little bit of a ghost town once you hit October, December, that kind of time of year. So, for instance, one of the key things to think about, if you're maybe looking in Cyprus, Paphos is somewhere that does stay lively all year, as well as Larnaca and Limassol. In Spain, places like the Canary Islands will stay warm even in December. The Algarve is very popular for people who are going there in the winter for a little bit of winter sun. And in Greece, like we mentioned, you do have Crete. Obviously, you probably want to stay with some of the kind of more well-connected areas. But also Thessaloniki is great as well. Both have expat communities and they're both fairly mild even in winter. So it's definitely a great thing to think about when you're thinking about that off-season living. And the most important thing, of course, is to make sure that there's a community there for you and amenities are open all year round.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things which you'll find is that you may well have visited somewhere on holiday, and so therefore you might well have seen it at its best in its peak season when all of the festivals are happening or the restaurants are open. But actually, if you make sure you go and visit again when it's in the off season, you can really see the character of the place. Could you see yourself spending weeks at a time in the place when it's in its off season? It might be you actually find that you like it even more when it's not as busy, but it's worth you checking this before you were to go through the investment of actually buying a property there.
Yeah, definitely. I think most estate agencies recommend going and visiting them. And when it is a little bit quieter, it's often a fit with their schedule as well. So definitely a great tip. In terms of kind of the key thing as well is some people perhaps prefer a slightly more quieter lifestyle. So you need to think about matching your lifestyle to the place that you're hoping to purchase in. So it's really about your personality of the place, but also your priorities. So ask yourself a few key questions. Do you want, an energized city? Do you want a village that's quite tranquil? Are you thinking about a beach lifestyle? Maybe you want views of mountains. What are kind of your key things that you would like in a place? And that will really help you narrow down where you'd like to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for instance, if we look at Portugal as an example, there is obviously huge variety in where you could live. If you were to choose somewhere like Lisbon, capital city, is extremely busy and bustling. You've got events going on all year round. It's very easy to fly in and out of the city. Perfect for sort of weekend trips, or even if you're looking for sort of an investment in a city pad, which you can then be renting out in the time that you're not using it. Lisbon might be perfect. But then actually, if you're looking for more of a place which has got that relaxed coastal living, sort of access to great beaches, golf courses, sailing, then the Algarve may be more up your street. Then one of the other places we definitely recommend looking into is Madeira. You can fly direct to Madeira. It's got its own airport, but it's an island separate to Portugal. And so therefore you have something of its own unique community because it's been established of this sort of, I don't want to say isolationist, but they've got their own character. And then, of course, Porto, if you're looking for a major city, but potentially one which is a bit quieter than Lisbon, has more of a historic old town, then Porto's definitely one that you'd want to look into. It's about sort of recognizing what you would like for your home and what sort of amenities you would like, what sort of connectivity you'd like, but also the lifestyle that's going to fit your day-to-day needs, and then identifying the places in the country that would fit that.
Yeah, definitely. And also maybe you do like Lisbon and you'd quite like to be near Lisbon. It might be one of those things where you look at some of the surrounding areas. There's lots of kind of train connections and things like that that can get you into cities like that. But maybe that's not your kind of, base that you have all the time. So it's really all about kind of weighing up the best lifestyle for yourself and how you would actually live in that area, year round, again, whether you're relocating or purchasing a holiday home. So if you are thinking about somewhere that you would like to live, maybe year round, or that you do hope to be able to visit in the winter, here are some places that we kind of would perhaps recommend, or at least think about adding into your inspiration if you're trying to figure out how you would narrow down. So warm winters, you can find those, as we just mentioned. Madeira is kind of nicknamed the island of eternal spring. So, if you're kind of happy with, it's not going to be boiling all the time, but you'll kind of get a mild climate, then Madeira is a perfect place to look at. As Julian mentioned, there's direct flights to the UK, and it's kind of year-round tourism as well. So there's always going to be something you can do, and there's amazing hikes. I think you can do tobogganing. If you're into that kind of thing, it's a great place to consider. You've then got kind of the common destinations that you'll hear a lot of people looking to move to. That's southern Spain and southern France. The reason they're so popular, they have warm winters. They're very well connected. You can fly from pretty much any major UK city straight into Malaga, for instance, if you're looking at the Costa del Sol. And you'll have a great time in terms of finding a community. There's lots of active expat hubs in all of those kind of areas across, whether that's the Costa del Sol, you can even include places like the Costa Blanca, but also in southern France, there's places like the Dordogne and Provence, which both have excellent hubs in terms of expats there, and also kind of activities that you can do year round. So these are kind of the places that we often, can think about when we're thinking about those warm winters as a consideration.
Absolutely. And also one aspect of it is that they are very well developed areas of the country. So for instance, you've got great transport links, you've got healthcare access, you've got good internet, you've got infrastructure. One of the things which makes this place very easy to recommend is the idea that if you've got this as a holiday home, you can get there quickly, which means you can use it. There's no point in buying yourself somewhere which is going to be 2 days of travel to get there if you've only got a week off or even a long weekend that you're trying to use it for.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even for those of us who might be kind of continuing working whilst owning this home, good internet means you can work from home. They never said your home had to be in the UK. So, good internet's always kind of an important thing to think about. So kind of run through the kind of ways that we would consider thinking about the best location. we've kind of broken down for you here what we'll call the ultimate location checklist. These are things that when you are starting considering exactly where you want to buy, these are things you really need to be kind of thinking about in a decent amount of detail. So like Julian mentioned, going and visiting is really important. We've put here instead a good winter climate. Now, what dictates a good winter climate for you is something that you kind of need to think about. Southern France, like we mentioned, it's a great location in terms of being quite mild, but it's quite rainy. You will probably get a decent amount of rain there, in contrast to somewhere like the Costa del Sol. So does that put you off? If yes, then maybe that as being classed as a good winter climate for some people won't be right for you. So take a look at things like that. What is the average temperature in the winter? What's the weather like usually? And go and visit it, experience it, and get a feel for what that's like. Is there a community year round? Even if you are looking for a slightly more rural property, or you do want a little bit more isolation, you'll still need to be able to go into a food shop. You'll want to kind of, probably go and visit places. So is there good public transport? Are, varying kind of local amenities open? Those are all things you'll want to make sure that you are, considering all year round. And also, if you're looking at somewhere that maybe has really good flights, perhaps in summer, if they then kind of dwindle down to only one every couple of weeks, or maybe they're not particularly regular in the winter, that's going to be something you'll want to consider. It will limit when you can actually go out there. If you're also looking at somewhere that is, on an island and you need to take a ferry, they may not run as frequently as you expect. So just take a look at all of those things. How would you actually get to the home that you'll be living in, and make sure that you can do that whenever you want. Otherwise, it might not be worth actually having a home if you can't get to it when you want to go. Importantly as well, is it close to healthcare? Healthcare is one of the kind of key concerns that I think anyone should have when living overseas. If you're relocating, you have to have private healthcare. So you need to make sure that you can actually access that if you require it at, in the depths of winter. If you need help, make sure that you can get to a local hospital or a local pharmacy easily, and it won't be kind of a stressor that would prevent you from going over there at that time. We've already kind of mentioned, accessibility to shops, but you're of course going to want to be able to do a little bit of shopping, especially if it's for food. So just a huge priority to kind of think about. Also, there being a local community around you, lots of expats to speak with. You'll really want to kind of build up your lifestyle there. So make sure that, there are people that will also be there with you during the time that you're hoping to be out there. And as we mentioned already, that good internet connectivity is really important. You may not be looking to work from home, but it's kind of surprising how much we do online. So making sure that you can always access the internet just in case you need any assistance is obviously the kind of safest thing. Estate agents will always be able to help you with that, whether that's just letting you know what it's like or recommending providers for you for when you do purchase a home. They'll be able to let you know which ones are the most stable networks, perhaps which ones they're using, just how you would here in the UK. I think everyone probably knows the best network for their area. So make sure to ask the locals, things like that. And then, of course, most importantly, your budget will dictate to a degree where you are hoping to purchase in. We've just spoken about the Costa del Sol, for instance. Let's say, you've got, £500,000 to spend. That may seem like a really great budget. And for a lot of places, that will be a really great budget that will get you a brilliant property. Let's take the example of the Costa del Sol. That budget won't stretch very far in somewhere like Estepona, for instance. So you may love the lifestyle there, but your budget may not be suitable for it. So in there, 500,000 may get you a fairly small apartment, and that might not be suitable for your needs. So what you might want to do is move a little bit further away from Estepona and look at places that have a similar lifestyle, but that also fit your property needs. So budget is also super important when narrowing down that area, because you might have to move a little bit out of your kind of area that you can perhaps know or are used to make sure you can also get a property that's suitable for your needs when living there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so One of the things which we should probably say as well about this checklist is this is not a universal checklist. It will not apply to everyone. What you're looking for abroad could be very different from what someone else is looking for abroad. This is why one of the things which we will end up recommending in a bit is going to be that, get on the phone with someone from your overseas home. We can talk to you about what it is that you're looking for. We might be able to suggest some areas. But essentially, what you're trying to do when going through this process is you're boiling down what you're looking for to a set of red lines, which sounds like you're ruling stuff out. But essentially, what you're doing is you're building a structure of the place you'd like to live. So, for instance, one of the things which Abbie and I were talking about in the last call, but actually even before this one, was that neither of us can drive. And so if I'm looking at a place overseas, I need to make sure that it's going to be one which I can actually navigate and get around without having a car or even a hire car. I'm not going to be wanting to get into an hour's taxi journey every single time that I arrive. It will cost a huge amount for one thing, but also it just doesn't feel like I've picked a place which fits what I'm able to live in. But I am a keen cyclist. And actually, one of the things which I was writing about recently for people moving to France is that it's a country which has excellent cycle routes. It encourages cycling up and down the country. It's a great way to integrate into the community, but it also means that actually, if I don't want to live in a city, there's quite a few places near cities and airports where if I've got a bike with me, I can still access those shops, those amenities, and I don't need to have a car. So what I have as my package of things that I'd work with when I'm looking to discover a property may be quite different from Abbie's. It might be quite different from yours. Where this also allows things is I might be most familiar with France, but if I know that those are things which I'm comfortable with, then I can start looking at other countries and identifying cities, towns, villages that might suit my needs, which I wouldn't have considered otherwise. So red lines isn't about necessarily ruling something out, but it is about sort of recognizing quickly before you waste too much time researching whether something will ever be a good fit for you.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, sometimes they can actually open up your options more. You may have thought, well, I've been on holiday to Spain, so I'm going to buy in Spain. But Julian and I were talking earlier, saying that there may be, Julian was saying he really enjoyed San Sebastian. Am I right there?
Yeah. The food scene in San Sebastian is fantastic.
You had a great time there. But maybe that might have not been the best fit for you. But there are other very similar European cities that will give you the same lifestyle, but perhaps a more practical fits for yourself. I mean, the image we have on the screen right now is Valencia City. If you're looking for a new build apartment, Valencia is probably actually a good option for you. It has a fair amount of new developments coming up. You'll probably find something that you quite like. If you hate the concept of an apartment, you're probably going to want to look somewhere else in the region of Valencia. That's what often gets even more confusing in Spain is, provinces, regions, and cities often all have the same name. So it's worth thinking as well when you're looking at areas what am I actually talking about as an area as well. Valencia City, you say that to an estate agent, you say, I want a big villa with a pool, they're going to say no. But if you realize it's Valencia region you're interested in, then that's something that they'll be able to help you with. You can actually go all the way down to somewhere like Denia and still be in Valencia, and you can get huge villas with nice big pools if that's kind of what you're looking for. So it's all really about figuring out exactly what you need. And then oftentimes, whilst yes, we're calling these red lines and that can feel limiting, actually what it will do is expand things much more for you, because you'll be able to look past what you know and at what might be best suited for you. So I think that's a great tip from Julian there to look at that. We've got for you just a little bit of inspiration based on some trending locations for 2025. If you're really early on in the journey, you don't know where to start, these are just some places that are fairly popular at the moment. So, Italy is kind of one of those places that has, lots of different areas, lots of different lifestyles. But at the moment, a lot of people buy in Tuscany. But actually what we're seeing currently is a slight trend towards Umbria and Lake Trasimeno in Italy, mainly because they're actually very accessible whilst also being, unbelievably scenic. I mean, this picture here is so beautiful, and you can kind of get a feel for the lifestyle you might have. It will be much more tranquil, so if that's what you're looking for, those are some perfect locations for you. As always, kind of popular, Crete and Corfu, they're very lifestyle friendly. There's lots of things you can do in both, and they're decently affordable if you're kind of willing to be flexible, perhaps on the property. You can usually find some gems, especially if you're willing to do a little bit of renovation, especially on Greek islands. You can often find some really great little properties that just need a little bit of love to bring them back up to, you know, kind of their best. Cyprus is great for people who are kind of, you know, perhaps both limited on budget, or if you have kind of quite an expansive budget, they oftentimes have some really low value properties alongside some really kind of high value luxury properties. So if you're not sure where to start and you're interested in Cyprus, those are some good locations to take a look at. And as I've already mentioned, Valencia is definitely a popular location at the moment. It's actually voted Europe's green capital. So if you're interested in checking out, you know, a city that's, you know, been praised for its sustainability, that's definitely somewhere to take a look at. And the areas surrounding Valencia are also excellent for expat hubs. You're basically talking about the Costa Blanca there. So great for if you're kind of looking to be maybe near a big city, but you want a slightly different lifestyle, maybe more of a village. They're great for that. So hopefully that's some good inspiration to start everyone off with. I mean, the journey does not end here. If you're kind of beginning your stage now and you're not sure where you want to go next, we do have monthly sessions coming up that you can join us for. So you can see the next one is upcoming, but we also have a variety of webinars that we run every week from our experts that will be able to help you with more niche topics as well. And you can also join us at our virtual property show, which is on the 4th of October this year. If you are planning a trip out to any of your areas, we also have a team of consultants who you can have a chat with. They'll be happy to discuss all of your lifestyle needs and help you figure out maybe which areas might be best for you. So please feel free, and we'll pop a link in for a property consultation if you would like to speak with somebody. So hopefully we can help you out with those.
Also, I'd say as well that because of the network of partners we work with, if you have identified a particular country that you'd really like to know more about, we might be able to put you in touch with an estate agent who can give you even more local information about what you could find there.
Yeah, definitely. I can see we've got a couple questions, so we'll get round to answering as many as we can. If we don't get round to answering your questions, we'll actually get one of our property consultants to give you a quick call, just to answer your question for you, and run through any questions that you might have as well, so they can give you a full kind of breakdown of what you might want to know as well.
Yeah, so let me start off with this first question then. So it's a really good one, actually. It's what would you recommend is sort of the minimum amount of time you should spend in an area that you're considering?
Yeah, it's both an easy question to answer and I suppose a slightly difficult question as well. Estate agents will tell you if you are booking a viewing trip to actually go out and meet with them, they recommend a minimum of 3 days. This is because what they want to do on day 1 is show you the area. On day 2, they'll want to show you a couple properties, but also maybe take you around to a few cafes, bars, maybe stop by some kind of local shops so you get a feel for each area. And then on day 3, they'll either want to show you more properties or take you back to previous ones. Now, that's what you'd want to do if you're out meeting an estate agent there. 3 days, I would say, is the absolute minimum. You cannot get to know somewhere in that amount of time. I would say a recce, you probably want to be doing a minimum of 5 days. I would probably say, personally, I would try and make the most of it. Put the family holiday there, go, you know, do as much as you can. There is, in my personal opinion, no maximum amount of time you could possibly spend in a place that you may move to. So as much time as possible. I would say your absolute minimum is going to be 5 days. On a recce, you'll probably want to hit 2 or 3 locations. And at that point, you would have done enough research to have really narrowed down. So it is a tough one to answer, because if you're like me, which is very picky, I would personally want to spend as long as possible there. But I would say, yeah, as long as you can. I know Kate here has said, you know, for kind of 4 weeks in a given location, that's that's what I probably would go for. I think that would give you plenty time to get to know the area. So yeah, those would be my recommendations.
I'd also suggest as well that obviously what you're able to do is going to fit what stage of life you're in. For instance, if you're still working and you have the option of remote working, and you could organize it with your company, like maybe doing a month in an Airbnb and working from the area is a great way to get to know the city. Similarly, if you're retired, then having the option again of sort of doing a month somewhere, treating it a bit as a holiday, but also as a what would my day-to-day life look like here, and seeing if it's something that appeals. But also in that time, if you do book like a large span of time in a place, don't just go about your everyday life. Do use it as an opportunity to go and see local towns, nearby villages, go to galleries, go to beaches, get stuck in, because you'll through that get like a real sense of where it is you'll be moving to.
Yeah, but also have a few quiet days. Figure out, could you just sit with very little to do? Are you happy with that? If yes, then it's probably the place for you.
We are really covering the gamut. So next question is from Chris, who's saying he's recently seen that there's the news that Spain may be charging 100% tax on properties, and whether this is likely to happen. I'm going to jump in just quickly before Abbie gets to respond. But this is something we've actually covered a bit on the website. At the moment, nothing is confirmed. And a lot of the headlines are probably the scariest version of the story you're going to actually read. As soon as you start looking into the details of it, it's quite a long way away before a policy like this would actually get implemented. The last time we looked at this, I think, was back in December. We ran a webinar with a Spanish solicitor, which you can find on our YouTube channel and in the archive on the website. She goes into great detail about what this would actually look like and the likelihood of it coming to pass. But of course, if anything on that changes, we're definitely going to be running updated articles and probably putting together another webinar. But Abbie, on to you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's obviously huge news. And like Julian said, you know, it's often sensationalized. I think the thing to remember is if you're at a point where you may be purchasing a property, most solicitors will speak with you completely kind of free of charge early on, have some kind of free consultations with them. And we'll also be able to keep you up to date. So if you're thinking that your purchase will happen very shortly, make sure you have a solicitor who can give you the actual up-to-date version of what's going on. If your plans are in the future, don't stress. It's not a reason to not go ahead with thinking about things, but it's a reason to stay updated. That would be my main kind of suggestion.
Now, we've also had a question here, which is about sort of what sort of payments would be involved when it comes to buying property abroad. First off, we're definitely going to be going into more detail in future webinars about sort of the purchases and fees which are associated with the purchase overseas. In particular, say something like stamp duty, which is a UK tax which is paid on properties over a certain value. Well, it may be that you wouldn't be paying stamp duty in another country. They may have a different tax that you'd be paying on the property. And so it's going to be unique to the country you're looking to. But that's certainly something which we can answer questions on in a one-to-one.
Definitely. Yeah. Country to country, region to region, the amount of tax you'll pay on a property varies. So it's oftentimes kind of that unanswerable question far out. What we recommend, and we will go into more detail in our one next month, I think June 19th, we've got there. The main thing that we always say, wherever you are buying, set aside 10 to 15% for extra costs. You may not use all of it, but it is good to have a cushion there for any extra fees you might not be expecting. So that's what we would recommend as kind of a consideration to have budgeting wise.
Yeah, and absolutely. One of the things which we write about a lot on the website, and you're likely be able to find examples of this for most of the major countries that we serve, are sort of little explainers about some of the fees that you might get specific to that country. And also, again, recommend the webinars we have already on our YouTube channel. I just came off a webinar about half an hour ago where we're looking into sort of the ways that you would protect your money when you're moving from either the UK or the US to Portugal, because there are certain things where you wouldn't want to leave it to the last minute to reorganize where your investments are. It's something which you need to sort of be thinking about 6 months to a year beforehand, just so you're taking money out of one scheme and getting it ready and packed up to pay the least tax on it when you move to another country. But again, a lot of these are very much going to be one-on-one conversations, because what your situation is and where you're looking to move to is going to be specific to you, and we wouldn't be able to necessarily cover it in this sort of a general space.
I can see Kate's question actually just quickly, just with regards to the property specialists in the Canary Islands. Kate, I'll just very quickly cover this for you. We do have property specialists in the Canary Islands. The main thing that I would recommend, and I'll get one of our team to give you a quick call following this, oftentimes there is quite low stock on the Canary Islands, so some estate agents have quite high budgets that they're able to help with. So what we'll do is I'll get one of the consultants to give you a call, understand a little bit about your requirements, and then we'll be able to help you out from there, which is, again, often one of those kind of key things to think about is, budget, matching location as well. Stock is a key thing that comes up a lot with a lot of our estate agents, is just making sure that that's kind of something considered. So that's something that we can do, and we'll give you a quick call after this to help you out with figuring out those plans.
I can also see we've got a question which is asking about the Algarve in Portugal. And I'd say this is something which our viewing trip team and our consultants are extremely familiar with as an area. And if you can sort out a call, you'll end up be able to talk through what you like, what you're looking for, and they'll be able to suggest lots of different places that you might want to start your property search.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Algarve is kind of a popular location. Everyone always says, I'm looking in the Algarve. And the lifestyle from east to west is so different. So narrowing that down will also help you figure out exactly where you want to be. I think, if I'm remembering off the top of my head, you can drive from one side of the Algarve to the other in an hour or so from airport to airport. It's not very big, but the kind of lifestyles along and the different towns are quite diverse. So as Julian mentioned, our team will be more than happy to talk you through and figure out exactly where might be best for yourself.
Actually, just echo what you were saying earlier, Abbie, about working out whether there's a particular place you'd like to live, but maybe you can't get what you'd like to live in at the budget that you're looking at. The Algarve is an incredibly popular area. There's the Golden Triangle, those sort of coastal cities, places like Villamora and so on. It can have quite high property prices, but actually there's lots of places inland in the Algarve where you can find yourself something much more affordable, which means that you still access those beaches, you still get access to those airports, all those amenities, but you're just getting it for a little bit less because you're not living right on the seafront.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone thinks, I want a property, 10 minutes from the coast. Sometimes that's actually not the best for a lot of people. It can be very busy, especially in summer. Some of the places that are that, a few miles further back, if not even further than that, are much more charming and oftentimes actually fit people's lifestyles much better. I speak to a lot of agents who say, people come and they say, I want to be right on the seafront. And within about half an hour of seeing what right on the seafront looks like, they change their mind. So I think it's all about being open-minded and figuring out exactly what you want.
Absolutely. So that's actually where us sort of run out of questions at this point. But to repeat what we've been saying through this call, really, it's a case of if you've got more that you'd like to ask, if you've got specific questions about the places you're looking at, what you should absolutely do is book a one-on-one call. We've got consultants who spend their entire days on the phone with people finding out about where they want to live, what they'd like to do when they're living there, and they know these places inside out. They can make lots and lots of recommendations which will fit what you're looking for.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Julian, for being with me today. I hope this session has been useful for everybody watching. As we mentioned, any questions, please do feel free. Our contact details are here. So if you do want to contact us, you can do it through here or the link that was shared in the questions tab. You'll be able to click on that link and you'll be able to book a consultation directly. If you have enjoyed this session, please feel free to just leave us a review on Trustpilot. It would be great to hear from anyone. And if you do have any suggestions for future sessions, please let us know. This is a series we're hoping to build with you. So anything you'd like to know, let us know so that we can kind of build that into our future plan. And yeah, if you've got any questions, again, reach out to us, and thank you so much for your time today.
Wonderful. I'll see you all soon.